Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Learn This Deck with the Dreaming Way Tarot. And today we're going to look at the twos from the Major Arcana. And what an interesting coincidence that today is also the 22nd. I love it when fun things like this start happening, right? Okay, so before we get into all the different twos of the minor arcana, let's have a quick look at what the deck creator had to say about the number 2. He says it's about unique action. It's a chemical response when 1 and 1 meet. So now we looked at the energy of the ones in the previous video, and 1 is all about existence. It's like this is here. It's here. I'm here, right? So that element which the suit is all about, when it says yes, I'm here, that's what the 1 is. So what happens when 1 and another 1 sort of meet each other? This is what we're going to explore in the number 2. And of course, the reaction is going to be different according to the nature of each suit, because each element reacts differently with each other and with itself. So we are not going to really look at the each other aspect right at this point, but with itself, yes, it's going to be interesting. So the first one we're going to look at is wands. Now just take a quick moment to have a look at the image of the 2 of wands and notice what's going on in the background. We see a meadow and a little village, but if you sort of take another look, you'll notice there's something very strange in the sky. Up above the head of the man in the foreground, we see a circular horizon of some kind, and so there's a meadow there and a house there. It's maybe even a city there, and it's kind of upside down. So now in the real world, when you look at things, you don't have stuff like that up in the air, in the sky. So through the imagery, maybe the deck creator is trying to show 2 different worlds. Maybe they're merging, maybe they're intersecting, or maybe they're just passing each other by. And maybe on this threshold, we have this young man standing there in a what looks like a doorway formed by 2 wands, and he holds a globe in his hand. So the globe again is a symbol of the world, right? He wants to have the world in the palm of his hand, maybe, or he wants to go see the world, and then he's from one world and now he's entering another world. So there's a whole bunch of crazy interpretations that you could make right here. And he's standing on that threshold and he's like, what next? Now if we look at what the number is all about, so we have passion in one, we have also got passion in another one, and this is the kind of passion that makes you want to go out there and do something, because that's the fire energy. So now what happens when one passion sort of passion energy force meets the other passion energy force? That is like, even if it's 2 different worlds, he's gonna make a doorway and he's gonna go right through. So that is the energy right there. So upright, we can say that this card talks about how the journey to self-sufficiency begins for this young man, because he now wants to go out there and he wants to make something of his life. Whatever that passion is, he wants to really, put it out there in the world and do something and create his own identity with it. And he's looking for options, of course. He's looking for different things. He's looking to see what he can try, how he can try it, how he can make it happen for himself. And he has that drive, right? He has that fire in his belly. He's like, I want to do something. I want to grow. I want to prosper. I want to thrive. I want to make it happen for myself. But of course, the story doesn't just end here. We have reversed cards. We love reversed cards. So what happens when this card gets reversed, right? Now the globe might fall from his hand. Those 2 worlds, instead of just floating peacefully by, just might crash into each other. They'll not merge. They'll just like cause destruction. Just be creative. Think as if this were just a snapshot of a movie. So if it's just a picture of what's going wrong, right? So we have someone who is unable to move forward because obviously his path becomes blocked now, right? He has a lack of options because his thoughts are very unclear. He doesn't really know what he wants, whether he wants to go to this world, that world. And now you see the world from the sky. Now that's upright. So it's all crazy, crazy things going on. It's pretty chaotic. And also, on the other end of the spectrum, this card in the reverse could mean that this guy, he suffers from a lack of that drive or that passion. He's like, yeah, I want to do something, but let's see, maybe, when that sort of thing happens, this card always shows up reversed. Okay, so I wrote the card story. I went into this guy's head and I was like, okay, what's coming? And this is what happened. He says, there's so much I want to do, so much I want to achieve in my life, and I'm prepared to work hard to achieve it. I want to be able to walk through this world with my head held high, with my dignity and my pride, and happy because of all the hard work that has led to my success. Now, this is one ambitious fella, and he wants to make things happen for himself, and that's what this picture is showing. He's right at the threshold. And he's like, okay, deep breaths, going in. So, the next suit, of course, is the suit of swords. And this is the Two of Swords. My God, look at the gorgeous, gorgeous imagery. I mean, normally the suit of swords is often portrayed very stark. And yes, this suit, again, in this deck, will have that kind of starkness about it. And yet that starkness is still so gorgeous. I love it. I love it. Here we see a young woman. She's sitting in what appears to be a snow-filled sort of meadow. There's all the snowy peaks and the pine trees in the background. There's snow falling around her even. And what she's doing, she's holding two swords in her hand. Now, if you remember the previous video, the sword here is something that was a very clear line of thought. That was the truth. That was the truth that hurts, right? And going back to what the deck creator was talking about in terms of the numerological aspect. What happens when one truth clashes with the other? What happens when one harsh sort of reality crosses or meets with or collides with the other? Because this is a sword, it's not going to peacefully meet. It's going to be abrasive. It's going to sort of crash into the other one, perhaps, right? What's going to happen? She's going to have to make difficult choices. Now notice, of course, also the blindfold on her eyes. That is a very common feature of many decks, the blindfold. Now the blindfold here again brings us to the second point, right? It could indicate either that she is not able to see what lies ahead of her, or that she has consciously chosen to blindfold herself so that she will not be able to see what lies ahead of her. Each thing carries a different, each interpretation has a different ramification or in terms of the meaning. So when she's unable to see what lies in front of her, her decisions are going to be different. Her choices are going to be different. But when she's chosen not to see what lies in front of her, those are going to be maybe fear-based decisions. Think about it. So point number 2 or interpretation number 2, these are decisions where either not, where she does not know what lies ahead or she does not want to know what lies ahead. But either way, these are the decisions. These will be made logically. These decisions, these choices will not take feelings into account. Why? Because it's an all swords card, right? This is the truth that is cutting through all the BS, and it's right there in front of you. And she's got two different ones and she has to choose one. She can't hold on to two different truths. And so she has to make a decision very logically. And no matter what she chooses, because that's how the mind and the heart are sort of always juxtaposed, right? She will end up hurting her heart. Feelings, her feelings, someone's feelings, both of their feelings, everybody's feelings. Some feelings are bound to get hurt by these decisions, right? But she has to make that choice logically. Now, of course, the card becomes reversed, and check out what happens. Will the swords fall off from her hand? Or will the blindfold come off? Or will all of that happen at once? Right? What does that end up meaning? That she doesn't have a choice, or that she won't have any options available, because each of those swords is a sword of truth. That's a sword of choice, and she has to choose one. But when the swords fall off from her hands, she does not have any choices. She does not have any options available to her, right? Or, and this has happened a lot when in real life readings, when this card comes upside down, and I'm like, you've already chosen. You just came here for a reading so that you can double check on things, make sure that your choices are aligned with what the universe wants you to do. And then the client is like, yeah. So that means reverse, it means you've already made a choice. And that's, again, it doesn't happen every time, all right, but happens a lot. And then the third decision, again, or decision. The third sort of key phrase you could say is that she follows her emotions, her intuitions, and not her logic. All right. And yes, although I have not written this here because this is something that just popped into my head, if the blindfold comes off, what do you think the meaning is going to be about? Yeah. Does she make conscious decisions? Does she make decisions with all kinds of consequences in mind? What do you think? In any case, I got into her head while I was writing the card story, and this is what came. My world is as cold as the snow that falls all around me. With each passing moment, I dread to see what lies ahead. At first, I was scared to see it, but as the night wears on, I'm glad that I'm not going to. It is a hard choice that I have to make tonight, and no matter what I choose, it is my heart which will hurt. So she's going through some real hard choice, tough decision making time in her head. Oh wow. And just getting into that card and coming out is like, OMG. It's swords are not always happy places, happy cards in that regard. And probably that's why they keep getting a bad rep. Anyhow, so we'll move on to the cups and breathe a little easy. And here we have Two of Cups. Oh, look at that, right? These are two people, a girl and a boy, with two cups in each of their hands. Like, he's holding one cup, she's holding one cup, and some kind of a heart-shaped cloud or whatever comes out of that cup. There's flowers and butterflies and everything around, and those two guys are, those two, the girl and the guy, are kind of looking into each other's eyes, smiling maybe. This is usually interpreted as a romantic card. It's like the first meeting. It's like when girl meets boy or boy meets girl, that kind of a moment. Or it could be interpreted as sharing your feelings, sharing your emotions. Now, here's the thing. In real life, this card very rarely has popped up as romantic sort of situations for me. Very rarely. It also talks about meeting a friend. It talks about meeting someone who will eventually become a friend, or meeting someone with whom you have a deep emotional connection. So it is not necessarily a friend. It could be a business partner. But the point is, because it's a cups card, the connection is more heart based, more emotional based, not a logic or mind based. That's what I always have seen with this Two of Cups card. So, but what the possible interpretations could be, the joy is shared. So it's because coming back to the number angle of it, one cup is all about joy, it's about happiness. So when one cup meets another cup, you have double the joy, double the happiness. So when you share your joy and happiness with someone, you double it. It's a very cheesy line, but that's how it is. Then yes, we have sharing your feelings and emotions, right? And then you have connecting on an emotional level. Because like I said, this card doesn't always come up as the romantic angle. It has come up. I'm not saying it has never come up. It's like, but it also comes up as a very emotional, sort of emotion based connection that you have with another person. Okay. Now, of course, we have to take this card and reverse it. What's gonna happen? The cups may fall out of their hands, those flowers, those butterflies, those heart-shaped bubbles. God, what's gonna happen to them? Right? Reverse, this card could indicate that these two people, for whatever reason, are not able to share their feelings, not able to share their joy with each other. Right? Maybe they just don't connect with each other, and that is why, like, like you go on a blind date set up by a friend and you end up there, and like you've got all these expectations that have been built in because your friend says, oh, he's such a nice guy, and you're like, okay, and you go there, and you just don't connect. It's nobody's fault, really. It's not the guy's fault, it's not your fault. It's just that, maybe your friend thought that you would connect, but in reality you didn't. That's your Two of Cups reversed, right? Now, this card also comes up when in a relationship, for whatever reason, there is some sort of an emotional distance that has started to build in. So it may or may not necessarily always show a breakup, but it can. It only once has happened for me. Like, this card showed a total breakup, but mostly this card in the reverse talks about a growing sort of emotional distance or an emotional disconnect between two people. Now, it could be people within a relationship of any kind, it could be, friends. And yes, this card has also shown up in the reverse when two people are separated, like in a long distance relationship, when they're separated by a physical distance. So they're not physically close together, they can't like meet each other every other day or every day or every week or whatever, like regular couples do, or like regular friends do. There's a long distance relationship. So that comes with its own sort of set of its own rules, regulations, and issues, and dynamics. But that is also the time when this card has come up in the reverse. Okay, so what happens in the card story? As I got into it, I'm like, okay, I found myself watching this and getting into both their heads, and they were both feeling the same thing. So I'm like, okay, how wonderful it is to be able to share one's feelings with someone. The moment feels like it was out of a daydream or a fairy tale, with flowers and butterflies and sweet music in the background. Regardless of the cheesiness of the scene, I'm happy in my heart. I've always wanted a friend with whom I could share my feelings with. The best part is that it looks like he wanted someone like that too. So both of them feel that connection. Both of them feel that, that bond with each other. Both of them have always longed for a friend with whom they could share their feelings with, and they're both kind of glad that they've met another person. So it's just the beginning. It's just a start, but it's a good start. So next one, finally we arrive at the Suit of Pentacles. And here's your Two of Pentacles. Oh my God, what's going on in this one? Just look in the background. It looks like, I don't know, wallpaper thing, like how it was in the Major Arcana. This time there's flowers there in the background. And in the foreground we see a young man who looks like he's dressed like a clown. and he's playing with two pentacles, and those pentacles are wrapped with some kind of cord, which ultimately ends up looking like a lemniscate or an 8, right? So it's like an endless thing with those two pentacles, whatever he's doing, the juggling, the jumping around like a clown thing. And if you look at his expression, he doesn't look particularly happy about it. So here's what the meanings were, right? He now, because this is pentacles again, let's talk about that. Pentacles are material things, so anything that is very practical, material, tangible is your pentacles. And as the, as it said in the LWB, what happens when you take a lump of earth and mix it with another lump of earth? You've got a big lump of earth. So one pentacle, two pentacle, he's juggling it. So pentacles again could be material benefits. He's juggling two jobs, maybe. He's juggling two incomes. He's trying to find a way to make his ends meet, and it feels like a non-stop, endless, constant hustle for money. Okay, that's what he's feeling. That's how he is. He's hustling. He's like, okay, I'm working two jobs, I'm working three jobs, I'm trying to make money, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. Okay. Or it could show someone who is either focused on two different professions. This card always came up for me. It still comes up for me uh, when I'm trying to do some major, strategic planning for my career. We have this guy coming up all the time. So yes, this is someone who is always focused on two professions. Or it could be someone who's focused on two different projects or two different goals in his life. So and by goals, they could be very material goals. So those where you have to juggle between variety of things, like even multitasking on some level, is this guy. So of course we have to take this card and reverse it. And what happens, if you have a look, the two pentacles are very likely going to fall from his hands now. He's going to not be able to keep juggling the way he was juggling. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing. That all depends on the intuition you get when you see this card in the spread, and of course the surrounding cards in the spread and what the question and everything was. So all of that will contribute to it. But reverse, it means that he is unable to juggle those jobs. In a positive sort of twist, it could mean that he focuses on a single profession or project or goal. Or, as I said, on the negative end of the spectrum, it could show someone who fails to sort of juggle all these several tasks. Basically, he's unable to multitask his way out of, the whole hustle bustle of life. So, what was this guy's card story? As I got into his head, I was like, oh my god, this is endless. I feel like a clown from the circus, constantly trying to juggle and balance everything in life. As if it isn't enough that I'm holding down two jobs. Now I'm handling two people's work at each of those jobs. Do people think that I'm a money-making machine? Don't I get to rest once in a while? So this guy is clearly not happy with his lot in life. He is not happy with the constant juggling, and I can sometimes relate to this. It's like, especially when things get hectic in both the professions, it can be mad crazy chaotic, right? So yep, this was the Two of Pentacles. So what was your thing about the twos? What was your card story with all the twos? What was your journal entry like? Go ahead, take a picture, share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter, on Facebook. Use the hashtags learn this deck, hashtag twos, hashtag minor arcana, and the hashtag dreaming way tarot when you shared this picture. And let's basically find each other, share each other's knowledge, and learn this deck. All right, I will be back again tomorrow with the threes. So See you tomorrow. Take care. Bye now.